Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. It's Anonymous T. Hope you're having an amazing day today. So today I am reacting to Corey Holcomb. Shout out to 5150 Nation. His reaction a couple of days ago to the Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, the Will and Jada drama was, he was in rare form a couple of days ago. He completely went in on Will and Jada, and I have a summary of what took place, you guys. And he starts off the show basically like, listen, I'm gonna burn bridges, not because I'm a bad person, but because nobody's saying the truth, nobody's saying the real tea. And so basically, he was calling out people who were calling this staged, who were calling this fake, and that he's not going to go back and forth with them, right? Because they already have their breakdowns and their mentality and their rationales, and there's no changing their mind. Also, he made it a point to say, Chris Rock's not a professional actor, right? He's known for his comedy, but Corey did say that Hollywood is known to pull things. Hollywood sometimes is known to pull different stunts, to pull different things for you to tune in for ratings and things of that nature. But he said that if it is fake, this is embarrassing because Will Packer was the first black producer of the Oscars, and it's embarrassing to have to pull a stunt like that when black people are in charge of the show. And if it is fake, everybody should be ashamed of themselves if that took place. Because basically that means everybody was in on it, right? Everybody was in on it being staged. There's nothing to celebrate if you are having black people turn the Oscars into the 1999 Source Awards. It's nothing to big up. And then basically he said, because the question was, why did Will Smith slap Chris Rock or whatever? And so basically Corey Holcomb was like, when you are a man of a certain age, if you are over the age of 45, and the whole time he's calling Jada Pinkett Smith a cankerous whore, and said that men of a certain age that allow an evil cankerous whore to be in their presence, these are the types of reactions and outbursts that take place when you are with somebody like that. And basically, if you are going to go out in public, if you are going to bring somebody to the Oscars who is having sex with your son's friends, it's going to be nothing but drama. It is going to be nothing but endless drama if you're bold enough to bring somebody to the Oscars who's having sex with your kid's friends. And then Corey Holcomb was saying how you can't sit front row in the Oscars with a bald head and not expect a comedian to come for you, and not expect a comedian to have a joke about you, and not expect anybody not to say anything. And he even said even Lupita had a wig on. Even Lupita knew not to be at the front of the Oscars with her bald head. Like it wasn't going to happen, or very short hair, or what have you, like her real natural hair or whatever, that even she wore weave or whatever. And so then he said, he called her, excuse my language, but Corey called Jada a bald-headed bitch and said that it's a bald-headed bitch that, effed her son's homie in your house, in Will Smith's house, is what he was saying. And so then they were like, well, the other guy, Marcus, he's like, well, Jada has alopecia. That's what they're saying. They're saying she has alopecia. And basically, Corey was like, no. He was like, August Alsina got all of Jada, like, in their little entanglement or whatever. So then, and then was talking about how do you let August have sex with your wife in your house or whatever, and that Will Smith slapped the wrong man. And, and then he said the whole thing was weird because Will Smith laughed at first. he was laughing, and then he looked at Jada and then completely felt like he had to do something. And he was like, you know, you're dealing with somebody who is going to check you on site like that, and you react goofy like that, you already know what it is. And he said that Will Smith knows who to slap, that Chris Rock doesn't fight, so he knew to slap somebody who was not going to slap him back. And basically, Corey Holcomb was spilling that, you know, Will Smith has goons with him all the time, and the goons from Philly, and he was basically calling them out and telling them to let them know, to make sure to tell Will what's up, that he is with a cankerous whore, is what he kept calling Jada Pinkett Smith. And so then he basically said, you know, Will Smith, he went from being a rapper to a best actor, you know, and even like was hyping up his movie I Am Legend, and said that that was like some raw talent and that Will Smith should have won an Oscar for that role. And he said, you know, these are the consequences of being around, quote, an awful bitch. And, you know, and he was just basically going in on Jada, how she spills so much tea about their marriage. He was going in on how Jada said on, you know, I think it was on Oprah or somewhere, where she said that Will Smith, you know, has sex with her like a girl. Said, quote, that Will Smith bleeps like a girl, has sex with her like a girl. And so it's like, when you're dealing with somebody like that who has no respect for you and drags you every moment that you get, airs out all of your dirty laundry, you already know what it is. And so, and then, you know, I think one of the times Jada said she didn't love Will Smith, or she was out of love with him or something of that nature. And, you know, Corey basically was like, as far as the Tupac stuff, like, you have it to the point that you are so obsessed with Tupac, you have your own husband chasing a dead man's swagger, that you're trying to, you know, chase and try to be all thug life like Tupac, who's been dead for decades. And so then he said, you know, there's no reason to act like this at an award show. And he said he would never bring a woman as his date to an award show, or be involved with a woman enough to take her to an award show that you have no control over, that can check you on sight with one look and have you have a crazy reaction. And so then he was like, you know how Will is dealing with somebody who is crazy, who is toxic, is the way that Jada was smiling and grinning when Will was sobbing his eyes out during his Oscar acceptance speech. He said that was the first time Jada Pinkett looked happy and was proud of him and was smiling, you know, as Will is up here, you know, still kind of in the aftermath of the humiliation and embarrassment of him slapping Chris Rock, and full of tears and snot and eyes running, that Jada is basking in his misery, basking in his humiliation. And that's how you know you are with somebody who is completely toxic, that has you acting out like this. And so then he called out people who were talking about that Will Smith was protecting black women and all this and that. And he was like, you know, there's people that, I'm just going to say, and I'm going to get in trouble for this, and said that there's people who are bottom of the barrel, bottom of the line bleep on social media, who basically allow themselves to be disrespected, allow men to take advantage of them, and how he hooked up with a woman after a week, and she basically had sex with him while her kids were there and didn't even know anything about him, and just basically saying there's women who allow themselves to be disrespected, and you're trying to put Jada on a certain level, on a certain caliber, when she's been ruthless, when she's been trifling, is essentially like what his point was. And so then he basically said, Jada belongs to the streets. Jada belongs to the game, is what he said. And so, you know, he said at any point, if you, because, you know, at the end of the day, he's still a comedian, he's still an entertainer. And he said, at any point, if somebody's trying to come on stage, like, you're in danger. And, you know, he basically said, don't freeze like Chris Rock, like if you're really about it. But he said in this particular situation, in this instance, Chris Rock had the right response to freeze because you are dealing with the situation where you're presenting at the racist Oscars, right? So everybody, all eyes are on you. So he felt, you know, Corey Holcomb felt that Chris Rock handled it appropriately in that particular instance because of how racist the Oscars are. And again reiterated that Will Smith knows who to slap, who to try, and who not to. And he said, basically, quote, he said, this is what happens when Will Smith is, quote, a victim of a toxic bitch in his life, is what Corey Holcomb said. And basically said that Jada is the most rotten bitch in the game. And said that Will Smith went to the Oscars with Iron Man in a green dress. You heard that correct. He said that Will Smith went to the Oscars with Iron Man in a green dress. And, you know, and so he was like, well, you know, the other guy, Marcus, he's like, well, you know, they're not, how do you know, what are you saying? Like, she's a woman, they had 2 kids. And Corey Holcomb was like, I didn't see her have the kids. I don't know. And he was like, you know that Will and Jada go both ways. They have sex with both men and women. And he kept like reiterating that throughout, you know, the show. And so, and he was basically saying, he said lead actors have sex with their, you know, have sex with all the women. He said he's not going to name drop, but he's heard of some people that, you know, Will may have allegedly hooked up with. But when you're the lead actor, you're the top dog, everybody's going to want to hook up with you. And he said, you know, that's how it is. And so then Marcus was bringing up Dwayne Martin, that if that was the love of Will's life or his life partner or something. And Corey Holcomb was like, I don't know any of that to be true, but what he does know is he said that Dwayne Martin was a stand-up guy and that he carries himself like a man. And so then he said, you know, basically Jada is wicked and gave them some weirdo kids. And I think Marcus was like, yeah, they all look like each other. And so, you know, and Corey said something is wrong when your son is at an event and is then like up here, you know, crying or whatever, saying, Tyler, the Creator is my boyfriend. And he was like, there's something wrong. There's something not right. And he was saying, quote, an evil bitch runs the household, and that's why everybody is screwed up. And basically said that Will and Jada have potluck for sexual partners. And, you know, and again, reiterated that Will and Jada both like men and women. So there is that. Also, you know, he said Will Smith wouldn't have acted this way. He wouldn't have slapped Chris Rock if he had stability, if stability was his partner, if stability was his spouse. The problem is he's dealing with somebody who is unstable, so therefore he has unstable behavior. And so essentially they were talking back on how Will Smith had turned down like a huge movie role to like do something else. And I think they were talking about when he did 6 Degrees of Separation or whatever. And they were talking about, you know, Corey was trying to say basically like in Hollywood to be a star, to get all the fame and fortune, there's things that you have to do or things you have to give up to be famous or partake in some homosexual activities or what have you, was what he was saying. And so basically he said Will Smith slapped a non-threat. And, you know, he said, how can you put all your business, have your wife put all your business on blast and not expect people to respond, not expect people to make jokes about you. And, you know, people need to get rid of this notion that Jada Pinkett is untouchable. And that you have a talk show to where you put things on blast, but you don't tell it all. You tell certain things to push a certain narrative or to make Will Smith look bad, but really it ends up making you look bad. And now you think that you're untouchable. And, you know, he said, if you're the person who's sleeping with your son's friends, you belong to the game. and essentially said, you know who Will is not going to try. And you saw the two big guys, Tyler Perry and Bradley Cooper, and he was like, woo, woo, woo. I was like, what is going on? But how they was calming Will Smith down and everything else. And so then they had this display of the alleged list of comedians that Will Smith wouldn't slap. And they were just kind of going down the list of who would Will slap and who he wouldn't. And, they're like, well, what about Cat Williams? And Corey's like, he's not messing with no Cat Williams. He was like, Will Smith is not going to slap somebody that has the potential to react or has the potential to do something back to him, which is why he was comfortable enough to slap Chris Rock. And so, also said he wouldn't slap Nick Cannon because Nick Cannon works out. Then they said, well, what about Dave Chappelle? And he was like, well, Dave Chappelle looks like he lifts dumbbells. So, but he said the issue that he has with this slap is they always make it seem like, brothers from the hood, like they're always the problems, causing issues and not knowing how to act at public or not knowing how to act at professional events. And in this particular instance, you have a situation where somebody is an A-lister like Will Smith and still had a moment where he acted up. And he said, it's messed up because he said black people hate each other. He said black people cannot stand each other is the issue. So therefore, you're put in these situations because it's effed up is what he said, since it was, a black weekend. There was all of this, things that Will Packard was doing since he was the first black producer of the Oscars. And so Will felt comfortable enough to slap Chris Rock because he felt, hey, we got a black producer, black people running this. I'm from West Philadelphia. I can do whatever the bleep I want to do. And so, then Marcus said, well, what if it was would he slap Bill Cosby? And Corey Holcomb was like, no, then he's going to drug Will. And he's going to be like, I've got some pudding pop shots for you. And he was like doing the Bill Cosby voice. But he basically said, quote, in regards to Will Smith, to quote, get the toxic bitch out of your life and calm down. And he said he understands that you don't want to lose money or go broke or whatever divorcing Jada, but you would have a much happier life. You would have a less stressful life if you got rid of the stress. If you got out, because right now you're stressed out still over Jada. And it's like, how are you not strong? You're not strong if you're sitting next to toxic Iron Man. And basically said, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of bold things that Jada does that people don't know about. Also, he said that there was somebody that told him that, like, Jada hits on, like, young guys during auditions and is, like, always trying to flirt with the younger men and this and that. And so, but he said it would be the most sellout thing if this was staged, if this was fake, because it's embarrassing to have all these black people involved with the production for the Oscars for the first time to then incorporate something staged like this. It just makes everybody look like a sellout. And it just makes everybody look crazy, humiliating themselves like this to get an award, basically. And so then it was funny because, they were like, well, what if this was set up on purpose to then blame the black people? And, then try to wash their hands of it or use it as an excuse not to bring black people back as a producer or not to nominate as many black people in future award seasons because of this slap, and use this as the scapegoat, use this as the excuse. And so then Corey Holcomb, I guess he was like, well, slap the like button, slap the comments. And I just couldn't. But basically he said, hey, he's here to speak the truth. He's probably going to get in trouble for exposing some things. But he said essentially, and then he said, once you sleep with boys, anything's a fair game. People can say or do whatever. So, but he said, leave the toxic and get rid of the toxic, get away from the toxic. And it's like, when you're at a certain age and you're at a certain level of maturity as a man, you do not want a toxic woman in your life. And Marcus asked Corey, would he sleep with Jada? And he said no. He said those are the type of women who put spells on you, who are witches, and I'm going to end up with a witch's brew. And then, he said it sucks with the August situation because he essentially was taken advantage of because Jada set it up as like he was this guy with problems, he had these mental health issues, and was doing all of this struggling. And then next thing you know, you're sleeping with him, so it looks predatorial. And so then they were like, well, what happened with August? Why didn't Will Smith slap August? And he said, here's what happened. They shut him down. He said August tried to put the stuff out there, and then they shut him down. The Smiths shut him down after that. So there's that. But he said he was just disgusted by Jada because, he was sick and crying all the time and going through all of these things. And, she still used that to have this little entanglement. So that was kind of the bulk of what Corey said in terms of like the main things he said about his reaction to Will slapping Chris Rock, and essentially is blaming Jada Pinkett Smith and says that her toxicity and her being Iron Man in a green dress has Will losing his mind and that he needs to get rid of her. So that was that from the Corey Holcomb Show to 5150 Nation. Let me know what you guys think about that. Please let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys again very soon.